drive home on IC radio in the town of Geraldine, Alabama. You know where Geraldine is, don't you?
Yeah.
Had you ever heard of Geraldine before I
Yes, I
actually?
did.
You had? Okay. This is Tricia Hopper with me right now. You know, you can find us on television a couple different ways. I haven't told Tricia everything. You can
No.
find us on Channel 182, Charter Communications. Now, you knew about that.
Yeah, I knew about that.
Okay, you can also find us on Abundant TV. Abundant TV is found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And now we're in Australia, Nate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I was going to go there.
Yeah.
I guess virtually like this is okay.
Yeah, I wonder if Rob will let me go. Rob owns Abundant TV. He was on TV with me about 3 weeks ago. And he said, I'm going to announce something on your show. And I said,
wow.
well, that's pretty cool. So he announced it. And so I'm wondering if Rob's even eat. Rob, have you been able to eat since this? So it's going to be about 1 million more folks watching us.
Oh, my.
And we want you to watch us. And we want you to move to Alabama because we're going to take care of you here,
That's
right?
right.
We'll feed you some cornbread and milk.
Yes. Buttermilk.
And other tasty things as well. So if you have a business and you're just thinking about moving, you know, somewhere where the taxes are a lot lower, the state of Alabama got you rocking and rolling. And also, you know, kids, it's not perfect here, but if you're looking for some employees,
Yeah.
you know, you'll be able to find, because if you don't behave and do your job here, even if you're an adult, your grandmama's going to come down on you, right?
And we have everything. We have the mountains, we have lakes, we have everything.
We got it all going on around here.
Yes.
So thank you so much for watching. I know you could be doing anything else, but you are watching us. Now, Tricia is with Gap. Now, I'm not talking about clothes, right?
No clothes, no.
So this is a guardianship program.
Yes.
So for some of the folks that you haven't seen them, they haven't seen you on television or on the show before, what is Gap?
GAP is the Marshall County Guardianship Program here in Alabama, and we are a volunteer program. I have volunteers that are appointed by the courts to be guardians over elderly or over individuals with disabilities who can't make decisions for themselves, and they don't have any family or friends to do those things for them. So we have volunteers that come in and do that.
I'm really glad this happens, Tricia, because, you know, families are just, you know, they live in different,
Yes.
even other countries, and some, you know, like could be missionaries who are living out in England or in Africa. And sometimes you can't tend to the elderly
Exactly.
relatives. It could be an aunt, could be an uncle, could be grandparents, could be your own parents. And so you guys actually come to the rescue on this.
Lots of times we are the rescue, yes. Sometimes they've been abused by family, or families taken their home. Sometimes that has happened in the past, where they'll sign over their home and then they need to go into a nursing home, and it's not been that period of time that you have to not be a property owner, and they end up being kind of homeless. And so our probate judge has stepped in and got the Attorney General involved on that and helped get them that property back, so then Medicaid could have that and they can be placed in the nursing home and not be homeless. And then of course they needed a guardian, because obviously the family member couldn't be the guardian because they had taken advantage. So yeah, it's kind of a sad thing that we have to do that, because years ago, you know, your extended family took care of you. But it also means that we've had growth and people have moved away to get jobs and not been able to come back. And so it's just a good thing if they're not able to be here. I'm a guardian over one who has family in Red Bay, which is at the Mississippi line, and in Montgomery. So she's around here, so I'm her guardian, but I always call them and tell them what's going on and get their input on any decisions I have to make, because they physically can't be here because their lives are elsewhere.
And there's some things you can't do on the internet.
No.
You really need somebody in person
Yes.
to take care of some things.
Yes. At one point, this lady became very ill, and she needed a DNR, and my paperwork at that time didn't say I could do that. So I had to call family and say, you know, y'all can make this decision because you are family. Even though I'm her guardian, I went to the judge and asked, and they could make that decision in case we needed a DNR, because I couldn't do that. My other paperwork on the other people that I'm guardian over, it's in there. But I had been her guardian for so long, it had not been in her paperwork, so they had to do it. So, I mean, it's worthwhile. I love doing it. I don't, you know, I'm not in their business all the time. I don't stay with them all the time or anything like that. Lots of them are in group homes. I usually do adults with disabilities. They have their own lives. They don't want to talk to me all the time. They want to tell me when something exciting is going on, and they want to come see me at Christmas. But, but lots of times
I want to come see her at Christmas too.
Lots of times I'll call them and try to talk to them, and they're like, I got to go by. You know, because they've got things going on in their lives. But now elderly people, they're usually lonely and they want to talk to you and stuff. So they enjoy having visitors. A lot of them are in the nursing homes, and so they enjoy having visitors. And sometimes my guardians say, well, there was this lady sitting there, and I just went in and sat and talked with her too. I said, well, you never know. Some of them don't have anybody.
It's true.
So then go visit them too. So it's really worthwhile. And we have to be court appointed. So it's not something you just, okay, I've done my 15 hours and I'm through volunteering. You have to go back through the courts and be named not the guardian any longer, which is not a bad process. The judge and I have worked on a process that takes about a week, maybe. Usually it's like months, so we can get it done in a week. If you're one of my volunteers and I have another volunteer, I just fill out a paper and she types up the papers and makes it all right. If you're a volunteer and I don't have another volunteer, then it goes back to DHR and they start looking for other people to do it. So it's really not like forever and ever unless you want it to be forever and ever.
I want to talk with you about, because there are issues where someone takes someone's identity. It's called identity theft. Does that seem to be happening a lot among the elderly?
It is. And what's so sad is sometimes it's family. And so they don't really think it's theft because that's my niece or that's my granddaughter or my grandson. And that they're just using my money. But they don't realize that they've spent all their money. They just think it's okay. But yeah, there are scams. I have to tell my mother all the time, the IRS will not call you and Social Security will not call you. I don't even think Publishers Clearinghouse calls you.
No, it's oh, I got so tickled. There was a guy, I told me he was with the Publishers Clearinghouse. I could hear chickens in the background. So it was in Africa or whatever. And his English was a bit broken. So he told me that I won $1 million and all this kind of stuff. And so Phil and I were going down the road, and I told Phil, I said, let's humor him. Let's just and I said, wow, I hear chickens in the background. Is that a mascot or something? And so he went along with me on that. He said, yeah. He said, we have chickens. Look, it was fraud, okay?
Yeah.
They don't call you. And they do these little surprise attacks for people. Not attacks, but if you have won something. So if you get that, I don't care who you are, what age you are. It can happen to a 20-year-old.
Yes.
I hang up the phone with these fools. I mean, because they're trying to get information off of you. A lot of folks, elderly, will get lonely, and so they get on the internet. Now, there's some things you need to be careful of there as well.
Right, yes, because it's not always the right picture of that person you're talking to. It could be somebody else. And lots of times you'll get emails that just at work, just a few minutes ago, the bookkeeper said, this is saying I have a bill with Geek something. I said, close that right now.
Immediately.
And she said, well, I wanted to look at it because I thought maybe I did. I said, do you remember talking to any Geek whatevers to do something with your computer? Oh, is that what it was? I said, yeah, they work on your computer. No, I said, now you've opened it and they have all your information.
Yeah.
So if it's an email you don't know who they are, don't open it. If it's somebody that needs to get with you, they'll email again.
And they'll call you. I mean,
Yes.
they will do that.
Yes.
But some of the emails I get them all the time too. This is a scammer. There are some things you need to really look at, okay? Because first of all, anybody can do copy and paste of your logo.
Yes.
I mean, you could do a copy and paste of IC Radio and look like you on the radio station. And then send an email out. It could be Jake at XYZTT2, whatever.
Right.
It's always something weird. If it's legit, it's going to be an email address of their company.
Yes.
It's like bankofamerica.com. Okay, so it would be support generally at bankofamerica.com, not support at yahoo.com or anything like that.
Exactly.
So it will be their domain name, so be really careful. So I received some calls. This has been 3 or 4 years ago, and people were getting calls from the electric company saying that they wanted you to go to Walmart and get a gift card and pay. That they were going to have you arrested if you didn't go get a Walmart gift card and put the money on it.
Pay your bill
That doesn't happen
that
that
you've already
way.
paid.
Now. But if you're a little weird, a little scared of that, but we want to pay our bills, call the power company
Yes.
and say, "Did you have someone call me?
Mm-hmm.
I know I paid my bill. I don't owe you anything."
Mm-hmm.
And they'll answer that, and they always like to hear about this because they'll probably send a newsletter out or
Right.
something with your bill saying, "Do not take those calls."
Mm-hmm.
So don't be afraid and shy to do that. Call them, and you're probably going to help save somebody else some headaches too. But they'll never ask you to go to Walmart and
No,
get a gift
they will
card.
not. Another thing with your emails is I tell my mother this. I said, if you don't know who that is, mother, put it in junk. But there's a drop down arrow with your junk, and it'll either say report or phishing, phishing, or something like that. And I always, if I don't know who they are, I'll throw it in that phishing, or I'll report it so that they're looking at it and double checking to see if it's somebody. And I get a lot of stuff with my Facebook where, not that my account's been hacked, but it's I need to sign back in again or this kind of thing, and I really don't. I mean, I open it up and there I am, so there's no need for me to sign back in again. But there's a lot of them that'll hack your accounts that way, or make another account. So make sure your Facebook is private. My mother had hers public, and she said, "These people are answering me. I don't even know how to say their names." I'm like, "Oh Lord, mother!" So I had to go in there and show her how to make it private. So make sure you're private and you're not public, so everybody can see your stuff. And that's sad. I mean, they prey on the elderly, and because they know they're not as savvy with all the stuff as a young person's going to be. And if they say they're in South Alabama trying to do whatever because the hurricane's coming or whatever, they're probably not. They're probably sitting in India in a room with 20 other people on the phone calling whoever or emailing whoever. So if you don't know them, don't respond.
Or in Africa with a rooster crowing.
Exactly. Exactly.
I just laughed. I thought that was the funniest thing I'd ever heard of in my life. But then the other thing is you need to ask them for a telephone number. They'll just give you more ammunition when you do talk to the proper authorities and say, "I got this telephone number." They're probably not going to give it to you.
Right. They'll probably hang up.
Yeah, that'd be a good way. Just say, "Hey, I can't talk to you right now. Let me call you back."
I used to have
a Seinfeld.
I used to have a friend. If it was somebody that she didn't know that was calling, she'd say Sheriff's Department, and boy, they'd just.
They'd start. I get these calls. I don't even answer them, but I get them all the time too.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk to you about accepting friends on Facebook. First of all, red flag. There'll only be one person or there are no friends. They only have 3 friends or whatever. They're just getting their start to go out and start scamming people.
Yes.
And if you ever accept them, what they're going to do is go through your friends list and then try to and then they'll think, well, that's okay. Tricia's friends with them. That's probably okay.
Yes.
But if I only have one person that's coming, I'm going to figure it's a scammer of some type.
And I've got this group, like for my high school group, I did us a little group page, and then I have another group page for the retired teachers here in Marshall County. And so I have to watch because people ask to be accepted into the group, and I have to go stalk and see who they are. And I'm like, "Nah, you didn't graduate with us. You're not not going to happen." Now, if one of my other members, and that's usually what happens, another member will contact me and say, "So and so wants to be in our group." I'm like, "All right, I can do that."
Yeah.
But I mean, I think there were 2 the other day I looked at for our high school, and I'm like, y'all don't even live. You didn't even grow up in Albertville or Boaz, and you want to be in our group? No.
Yeah, why
not
would you?
happen. Yeah.
Yeah, don't do that. And then another thing that I'm finding with our group pages, we've got The Edge and with Donna and Kathy. That's another show you need to be on that one too. So The Edge with Donna and Kathy, and then we've got Afternoon Drive Home and then IC Radio in my Facebook page. We have people who want to be part of those groups. And I go ahead and accept everybody unless it doesn't look legit. Another thing you can do is go back into somebody before you accept them on anything and look at their likes. See what they like.
Yes.
And if it's something, it's like African tribes all over the place or something, India, whatever, it's probably not going to be a legit person.
Right.
But I have them, they'll try to sell cheap goods on my pages, and I take them off and report them.
Yeah, that's good too. I mean, I don't know how people get so smart doing this stuff, but there's some smart cookies out
Well,
there
that's
that
all they
can
do.
really do.
I think it's organized crime.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody asked me the other day, how do they get in there and how do they do this? I said they're running algorithms all the time. They're running them all the time, and every once in a while that algorithm will hit, and they'll try to get in. And I said, like if you order on Amazon, if you order on Walmart or anywhere you order online, your information's there, and all they got to do is hit that right algorithm, and it's
Hmm.
gone. One of my friends, she's been trying for over a year now to get her identity and everything straightened out. She was at one bank, was having difficulties, pulled everything out, went to another bank, and it started there too.
Oh my goodness!
So they really had her information.
Yeah.
They had dug down in there deep and could track her wherever she was going and what she was doing.
We're in a situation right now with a family member who's accepted someone. You've got to really, really be careful. They're going to ask you pointed questions. They're going to ask you who your kids are. They're going to ask you about cars. They're going to ask you about all kinds of, that's what these scammers do. And they'll try to get you to take pictures.
Oh, yes.
Of all this stuff, too.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Very much so. My mother, God love her, she couldn't get into her Facebook page. I can't remember my password. I said, well, just start another one. I'll send a thing out telling my friends, because most of my friends are your friends, family, that you started another page, but don't put a picture in it. Well, they won't know it's me. Yeah, they will. So I told them she doesn't have a picture. I'll just look for it. And she said, well, it worked. And I said, yeah, we're not going to put your picture on there. Mm-hmm. Because she's older, and I don't want just anybody looking at it. Of course, I went and made sure it was private. But I don't want just anybody in there looking at her information and getting my information, my brothers, my cousins, whoever, just because they can. I mean, it's sad, but it's the truth. And I tell my grandkids all the time, you be careful who you send anything to. And by the way, don't post anything on Facebook that you don't want the law to see, because they start using that stuff too.
And so too, future possible potential employers.
Yes, I do that. If we have someone comes in with an application, I'll tell somebody, look them up on Facebook. Let's see what's going on. I mean, I want to see what you're posting and what kind of person
because that's
you
the
are.
real you are.
That's the real you. That's exactly right. And if you're posting things and screaming and hollering about something that happened, then no, I don't want you in my business, messing with people's lives. That's just not how that works. But so yeah, you have to be really, really careful what you post on Facebook, because it'll come back to bite you sooner or later.
Well, I've known of, I don't know anybody personally, but I know of people who had a job and they put their boss down. That's a dumb thing to do on their Facebook page.
Yes.
Well, guess what? Somebody told the boss, and the boss saw it and fired them.
Yeah, I mean, you don't do that.
You gotta be respectful. Use common sense when it comes to this kind of thing.
Yes.
Absolutely. I'm glad to know that you guys do. I know, because I know that you volunteers. You like to have volunteers to come in, and so let's talk about how you filter out volunteers. I know it's not, like put them through the ringer or anything like that, but you really care about the folks that come through, your patients.
Right. Well, usually I have an application they fill out. I check references. I run a background check, and I run the children and adult abuse registry in Montgomery. I run that through DHR, and when all that comes back clear, then I'm ready to start training and get you in there. But those are just several things that I want to do to make sure I've got the right person in there. My husband just has started being a guardian. I've been doing this since 14. He's just now decided, I can do that with you. But I ran him through the ringer too, and he's like, well, you know me. And I was like, I know.
Probably a little more than she would.
I said, but I got to have that paper trail, to show that
because it could come back on you later.
Yes,
if you don't
it could come back
on
me.
That's my husband.
Right.
You got to do it right.
Right. So, I mean, I did that paper trail, and he's like, I can't believe you did that. I can't believe you did a background check, and you ran me through that register. Did you think? No, I did not think you were. But
got to do the process. It's got to be done right.
Yes. And some things pop up that you don't realize that's going to pop up on your background or whatever. The background I run is for volunteers. I go through the National Crime Search, I think is what it's called. But it's specifically for people who volunteer. So it doesn't get into your financial, your credit, all that kind of stuff. I don't get into all that. I just want to know if you've moved a lot, if you've had a job, if you've got any bad credit, if you've got any charges against you. And I think the one I chose, I think, goes back 10 years, I think. So, because I want to know. That's just something I need to know, because I don't need you in there with someone that if you've been in trouble with the law or anything like that, then I don't need you in there.
Well, I want you to run one on me, because what if somebody got into my identity and I didn't even know it? And what if somebody, ran up a bunch of bills and like I'm $100,000 in debt and didn't know it?
Didn't have a clue.
Yeah, I didn't know it. So that would be I'd want you to do mine.
Right. And it does show me like if there's been any extra activity or anything like that. And so when I call them and set up training, I'll say your background check came back and it says this, this, and this, because I don't want them to think I'm hiding anything from them. That's their business and they need to be able to see it.
Yeah.
And so I'll tell them it has this, this, and this. I'm lucky. I've never had anybody say, no, I didn't do that. I need to see that. So it's always been good. Everything that I've reported to them has always been good. And I've been doing this, like I said, since I think I got hired here in 17. So it's been 5 years. Is that right? Math's not my strong one. But I think I've only had one person that I couldn't. And if I'd waited one more year, it wouldn't have shown up.
Oh, wow.
And it would have been okay.
Because people get kind of sneaky. I know that I judged a beauty contest for little girls one time. I'll never do that again.
I did that one time too.
I made it one time.
One's it.
All the mothers. I felt like the Andy Griffith episode when he judged a beauty contest. And I had every mother mad at me. And see, I was the new kid on the block. These other judges have been doing this for a long time. And guess what? They let me do the deciding. I did the deciding tiebreaker vote.
Ooh.
Well, I'm being very naive. And I picked a little girl that didn't have so much makeup on.
See, that's what I did. Natural beauty. So
guess what? I made everybody mad. I had to live that down. I'll never do that again. But I got to noticing, I'm not like a real suspicious person. I've noticed some people hanging around that I thought, are they here just to see these little girls?
That's highly possible.
Yeah. So, but you need to, if it's a family member of yours, and whether they're elderly or someone who has special needs, you want to know that.
Yes, you want to know who they're with and who's going to take care of them and what that person's involved in. All kinds of.
There could be theft, or that's another reason I think you'd want to know.
Yes. And that's part of the reason they need a volunteer guardian is because family's already done something, like they've stole their medicine, or they've stole their money to go buy drugs, or whatever. You sure don't want to put somebody with them that's going to do the same thing that the family's done to them. So, and I've really never had that issue. We've really always had a wonderful bunch.
Well, it's because you do a good thorough check, though.
Well,
and that's so important.
I hope so. And like, I have elderly couples that do it together. I tell my husband, I said, we're going to do this together. He said, no, I want my own. I'm like, okay, whatever. So he's weird, but I love him. But they do it together, and that way, and if they do it together, then I try to put females with females and males with males. So if I do it together, then they can have a female together, but there's always somebody in there with them. They're always, I don't ever want to put a male person in there with a female ward and something be said.
Yeah.
When they have dementia, sometimes things get said that shouldn't be. I did have one little lady who made accusations. She really didn't have dementia. She just didn't want to have a guardian. And so she made some accusations, and the wife happened to be in there too. I said, no, that didn't happen. And so they were like, we want to be her guardian. And I told the judge, I said, I can't put another volunteer in there. I said, don't even ask me to put them in there that their whole life could be ruined because she just doesn't want a guardian. I can't do that to somebody. So I really try to match up. I want them to go visit. I want them to say, okay, our personalities match. Lots of times they're older and they just don't even communicate with them or anything. They're just there. But if they do, I want them to be able to talk about alike things. You know, they have things that they have in common.
Yeah, you may want to match people up. Maybe somebody likes to make quilts.
Right,
And
yeah.
put somebody in there that likes to make quilts
Yes,
with them. Or maybe they like the world's events.
Yes.
You know,
Or,
you
you
wouldn't
know,
want to put somebody that never wants to talk about the world.
my daddy would love to have somebody that would talk to him about gardening or
That's
chicken
the person I want,
houses.
the gardener.
Yeah,
Farming.
you know, farming and running chicken houses. Now, Daddy can talk to you all day about all that kind of stuff. But so he needs somebody that's going to be able to talk to him about those kind of things. And my daddy can talk to you about a lot of things, but that's his thing, and he likes guns and. This sounds crazy. Slingshots, those kinds of things,
Yeah.
and target practice and all that. So
Uh-huh.
he'd be okay with somebody that was into that. Now my mom, she's more gospel music, going to church, Bible study. So she would need somebody like that. So I try to match people up, you know, try to find out what they like. And all the court, you know, all the write-ups they do, they let me have that so I can give the volunteer a little bit of information. So when they go in there to visit, they know some questions to ask. Oh, I understand you quilted and you belong to so-and-so homemakers club. And so then they get started talking and to see if that's going to match. I always tell this when I come on here. I did send one to go visit, and when she walked in, the lady said she looked like her ex-mother-in-law. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. So she calls me and she said,
Yeah, that's just starting a trouble there.
I said, no, we'll find you somebody
Yeah.
else.
There could be issues. I look like my dad, exactly like him, you know. So,
Yeah,
so I understand that. You know, Phil and I used to own a Snelling Personnel Services. This is it's what you call a headhunter, and we would help folks find jobs. It was more like doctors, lawyers, you know, that kind of thing. High execs, you know, up the chain and that kind of thing. And so I sent this guy over. This lady was looking for a property manager, and this guy was, I mean, he was tops in his field. Never anything bad told on him, because I did thorough checks too, because I didn't want to send like weirdos out, you know.
Right.
And so I sent him over to see this lady, and she was looking for, she owned the complex, and it was a big complex. And so she said, I can't hire him. And I said, are you serious? And I said, this man is more than what you need. I said, are you afraid he's going to be there and then leave? She said, no, it's not that. And she didn't want to tell me what it was.
Who did it look like?
Her ex. She said he walked like him.
Oh.
And she said, no, I can't do it, Donna.
Yeah.
And I can't. And I said, put a bag over his head, because this
He's got all the credentials.
And he was even willing to take, and he thought something wrong with him.
Oh.
And he said, there's something wrong with my background check that I don't know about. You know, he thought something had happened to it. And I said, okay. I asked her permission. She can tell me why. And he said, what was it? And I said, you look like her ex. He said, oh, okay. He said, I couldn't work me might look like my ex either. So I thought that was a little odd. I'd put a bag over his head, because he was really sharp. But those things really do mean something sometimes.
They do.
You know?
They do. You know, people come in and they look like a child of yours that passed away. Oh my God, I don't think I could handle that either, you know. And I know a lot of the elderly that we have do have dementia, and they, you know, they'll call you by different names or whatever, and I'll try to tell them if they do, just go with it. Just go with it and ask them questions. But I think it would really hurt me if one of them looked at me and said, you look like my daughter that passed away. I would
that'd be hard.
yeah, it would be really hard. It really would. But I think, you know, if you could get over past that, you say, well, tell me about her. You know, because they'll want to talk about it and they'll want to share with you.
Well, that's a good thing to do. And then maybe get them to think about happy memories.
Yes. Like when there was a little girl, or when, you know, when they got married or something like that, because I feel like with dementia, their lives seem so sad. May not be to them, because I don't know what they're thinking all the time. But I would think you'd want to help them have happy memories. Like my aunt had dementia, and she started telling me about when her and my uncle met, and her daughters were just shocked. I'm like, y'all need to ask questions, because they're gonna tell you stuff. Mama used to sit with a lady that had dementia, and she'd ask her all kinds of questions about the depression and all that kind of thing, and learned so much.
You'll find out they were young once too.
Yeah.
They'll tell you stuff.
Yeah. You thought you were the one that was sneaky. Wait till they start telling you stuff.
I think women from the 1950s were sneaky. I mean, they would hear about Elvis. You know, that's when Elvis. I mean,
Oh, I love Elvis.
oh my goodness, goodness gracious. We've got to go into a commercial break. We're going to be right back in just a minute, so y'all hang in there, okay? We'll be right back. We are back. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of Afternoon Drive Home on IC Radio. It can stand for a lot of things in Christ. It can stand for ice cream. I see. It also stands for I can see you because we're on television as well. You can find us on Roku, Apple, and Amazon Fire, and it's the Abundant TV. You can also find us on channel 182, and that's on Charter Communications. I'm with Tricia Hopper, and she's with GAP. This is the Marshall County Guardianship program, and it's a great, great thing. I'm going to tell you what. I had a question, too, about you have some family members who don't want to help with the finances.
Right.
You know, maybe they've got 3 kids, and none of the kids want to touch the
money.
you know, and I totally get that. I totally understand that. So is there help there? I mean,
if you become a volunteer guardian, you don't have to do anything with the monies. Usually there is an attorney that may be appointed as the conservator. If there's property or an annuity or a 401k or something like that, then an attorney handles that, and he gets paid to handle that. If it's only Social Security, SSA, SSI, then you'll have to have a rep payee. Lots of times that rep payee was the one taking care of the person, and so they took advantage and took the money. So there needs to be someone else as a rep payee. In the past, conservators have been appointed for that, but like I said, they get paid. Well, if you're only getting $1,000 a month, and he gets $150 an hour, $15 for writing a check, you really don't want the attorney to be, and it's not that they just won't get their money. It's not that they're going to take your money. They'll just do what they got to do, but they won't get paid, and that's their way of making a living too.
Sure.
So I have been working, or my board and I have been working with the probate judge about us having more people that that GALP is the rep payee for as an organization. I have one individual right now who has a volunteer guardian, and I am his, or GALP is his rep payee. I say I am, it's really GALP. We're looking at, and I set up some guidelines. If they've got a guardian and they need somebody to be the rep payee, okay, I will. That guardian's not willing to do it. If we can charge a fee. I really didn't want to, but I can, and it's either 10% or $43 a month, whichever's less of their income.
Okay.
So if it's 10%, and they make $1,000, that'd be $100. But we're not going to do that. We'll do the $43 a month, and that's just to cover costs. Because I have to go when we become rep payee. I have to go to the electric board. I have to go to the charter or wherever. I have to go get all that changed and give our address, and then I pay bills every month for them. Like the pharmacy bill came in the other day. The pharmacist thought I was crazy, but it came in and there was like, he's put 2 payments on here, and I didn't make 2 payments, same amount. So I called him and I'm like, hey, you've said I paid you twice the same amount, and I didn't. I just paid you one time. He said, nobody ever calls me back and tells me that I'm owed money. I said, well, you are. So, don't do that to yourself. And then I spend a lot of time, like, if the mail gets lost and their check gets lost,
it will.
then I have to go meet them to get their check to them if they need that. Just different things, setting up the bank account, going to Social Security and getting all that taken care of. There's just a little bit of time.
That was hard to do during COVID when you had to wear a mask and you had to go single file.
You couldn't go into social. You had to call, and if I had someone that I was going to be rep payee over, and they had another guardian, then that guardian had to send. Well, they're supposed to send their guardianship papers anyway, but they had to get on the phone with them and tell him it was okay to talk to me, and that it was okay for me to be the rep payee, or GAP to be the rep payee. That's how it all worked. And if you had any kind of document, let's say I just got named somebody's guardian, and I need to get that guardianship paper to Social Security, I have to mail them the original, and they're supposed to mail it back to you, but that gets lost in the mail. I'm still waiting on a death certificate to come back to me, and it's been since February.
Oh my goodness!
And they say they mailed it, but I can't. It's not there. So, and it's the only one I had. So that's kind of upsetting to me that things get lost in the mail. But being on the phone with them, I think sometimes it goes faster being on the phone with them than it did in the office.
I hate calling some people on the phone. It's like you're on a hold forever.
Right.
And then they finally come back. Well, I'm washing dishes or something. I'm going, what did I call them for? I don't even remember.
Yeah. Well, I've had to call them a lot with my other job that I do also. And it's just seemed to be quicker on some things. Now, I just made my 5th phone call the other day on one little gentleman.
Well, they know you, so you know the ropes.
Yeah. And so I'm like, hey, this is my 5th phone call. We're still not getting SSA check. We're just getting SSI. He's been living here since November. I need SSA. And when I call, whoever I talk to says, well, I have to tell my supervisor because they have to push a button. I'm not hanging up the phone till you push the button. And it just so happened I got somebody that was a supervisor and could do it. So she got everything straightened out. So we'll see if I get it next month. I don't know if I will or not. But, it's just little things like that take up a little time. And I really didn't want to charge. It bothered me because I'm like, they don't have that much money. But I also see whereas
that takes a long time. I mean, it really does.
And it's taken away from my training. It's taken away from me recruiting, those kinds of things for volunteers. So I understood that. I said, okay, I will do that, but we're not going to charge until we have 5 people. So they're like, okay.
Well, it's kind of like a cell phone bill. Oh my goodness. And it's almost like you have to hire an accountant to look at the cell phone bill to make sure somebody hasn't been overcharged.
Right.
Or regular home phone bill or whatever. I mean, that's a hassle to pay bills anymore.
It is. And I've really tried to set it up where everything's a draft.
Yeah.
So I know it's going to get paid, and then I just keep up with the checkbook. And look, my checkbook looks horrible, but theirs is spot on, I'm telling you. I'm so busy taking care of theirs, mine just gets pushed to the side. But
what about groceries and things like that? Are they giving an allotment?
A lot of them have EBTs. Food stamps. The gentleman that right now that we're rep payee over, he wants a check every week to go buy groceries and do whatever, and then I send him one for gas and stuff at the end of the month. And so if it doesn't get there when he thinks it's supposed to get there, I get a phone call. But that's how he wanted it. It was once a week. When I was guardian over a gentleman and I was also rep payee, I got him where he could buy once a month because I was having to go get him and take him to the store, which there was a lot of time involved in that. I said, okay, let's try doing for a month or at least 2 weeks. We got up to 2 weeks and he said, hey, if I'm buying 2, one for this week, one for next, can I just pour 2 more in there for the next 2 weeks? I said, sure. So we got up to a month and he was good with that. So we just did everything in one day, and he was fine. We had a certain day every month that I knew that's what we were going to do, and he knew that's what we were going to do, and he would keep his list of groceries he needed, and we'd go take care of it.
Kind of helps set up a budget that way too, doesn't it?
It
Probably
does.
wind up spending a lot less than they
Yes,
normally would.
yes, you do. And he was really good. I mean, I'm not his guardian anymore. That's how good it was. He got where he could handle everything on his own. So, but I'm like, here's your card. You remember your code, which was my phone number. He said, yeah, he'd always have to look it up. But I said, just text me when you get through, and I'll ride back through and pick you up. So I'd take a book or something and read while he's in there doing groceries. At first, I'd go with him. And I said, do you want me to go? He said, can I do it? I said, oh, yeah, you can do everything by yourself. I'm good with that. And so he would. And at that time, I think there was a Burger King. And sometimes I'd go in there and get me a Coke and sit down and read or whatever. But I let him do it. Now, there were a couple of times he's like, I need to get so-and-so. Can you help me, like a coat or, something like that? I said, yeah, we'll go somewhere else and we'll look for you a good coat. We'll make sure we get you a good coat. Just little things like that. My concern mostly with the rep payee is they don't understand how much money they have because I'm the one looking at it. And so I always try to say, here's your check. This is how much money's left. This is how much money we're going to need for the rest of the month. And this is what you'll have at the end. So that they understand I can't have extra. I want a new cell phone. Well, we can't afford that right now. You've got.
And that would be you saying it instead of the kids saying it, and then the kids are like, I hate being the bad guy.
Right. Yeah. So it's sometimes it's hard because I have to say no, or sometimes I'll say, okay, that's what we want to do. Let's save up then. So don't ask me for anything extra for the next couple of 3 months, so you can have enough to get what you want, and that helps them to figure out how much monies they've had and all that. But that some of them don't hardly get anything. Some of them get like $800 and something a month.
Oh my goodness,
that's
nothing. Live off of that.
I know.
Can you help them get the food stamps?
Yes.
Can you help them if they don't?
Yes, I have to do that every year with him. I have to give a report. I have to send a report into Social Security on where all the money's gone. So this last time I did it, and of course, before that we had stimulus money, and I did his report, and I kept putting over here, this is stimulus, this is stimulus. This didn't count, that was kind of hard to do. But, yeah, you have to do all
on
those
average,
reports.
how much can that help them if they do get food stamps?
Well, right now, because they're still getting COVID money, they get an extra $200 a month.
That can go a long way.
That can go a very long way, especially with groceries the way they are right now.
Yeah.
But when I ask EBT or food stamp office, when will this end? They don't know. They'll just get a letter and it's over.
Oh, that could happen anytime.
It could happen at any time, yeah. And so this has been going on since 2019. I expect it just any time. And when that happens, I think he'll drop back down to like $50 a month, which is not much. Not with prices like they are. So yeah, it's kind of sad too. And then, I see some elderly people that don't qualify. They get that one little retirement check that may be $300, and it puts them $50 over the limit, so they don't qualify.
Oh my goodness.
That's really, really, really sad. I think if you're a certain age, and I mean, you should get help with your groceries.
I think so too.
And then
because there are other programs out there for everybody else.
Yes, and they have to pick. Do I need my medicine? Or do I want to eat? And that's
can't have pets when they like to have pets. Can't afford the pet food.
Right, and you shouldn't have to have those kind of choices that you have to make, especially when you've lived your life.
And worked like a dog
and
the
worked,
entire
yes,
time.
exactly. I look and I think that little bitty retirement, and I mean it's nothing. Of course, by the time I get older, mine probably won't look like much either. Retire from teaching, but mother worked at a plant. I won't say the name for 30 years, and she gets $400 a month.
Gosh.
And I'm like, wow. Daddy worked at another plant. Of course, he was male. He made more money. He gets $700 and something a month.
Why was there such a difference? A man and woman could have been making pretty much the same, but the man gets more money than the woman. Because in the years past, they were the breadwinner?
They were the breadwinner, yes. Yeah, that was mainly it. So it's kind of a sad situation sometimes when you look at it. And I think, like my grandmother, I can remember her Social Security check wasn't but like $400 or $500. She died in 2001.
Try living off of that.
Yeah. 2001 wasn't that long ago, y'all. and trying to live with that. And she'd been on it since 70s.
That's why you see a lot of them working extra jobs, Walmart greeter.
Pay for their medicine. If she had not had a garden, she always said, I said, why do you make such a big garden? She said, I gotta eat. If I don't make a garden, I gotta pick. Do I want to pay for my medicine or do I want to eat?
I totally get it.
Yeah, it is sad. It's really sad. But it's just the way it is.
Now, volunteering, let's talk about that a little bit more, because I mean, this is just such an awesome thing that you can do, not only for them but for yourself, you know. And we're talking about, you know, the things, because I mean, you know, people are looking, you know, they're often, since the groceries have went up so much and that kind of, can I grow my own food? Or what are some things I can do to preserve foods and that kind of thing? I happen to remember, and you'll get a kick out of this. So I had a whole bunch of beans, and this concrete garden, by the way, works. Concrete block. I love it. I'm not going to do anything but that from now on. No weeding. I mean, it's been awesome. So what I did is, I happen to remember my granddad talking about dried beans. And what he would do is he would leave the beans, and I would say, why do you do that? And he would say, well, 2 reasons. First of all, it's easier, and like peas, you know, you shell your peas, it takes a long time to do that. Well, if you dry them, they're easier to do.
Oh, yeah, just fall out.
Fall out over there. And he liked dried beans better anyway, because he said the juice was thicker. And then my grandmother liked it because she would say, well, less jars all over the place.
Right.
So they just got to make sure you keep them. Now, remember little things they said about that. And remember, Granddad said, now you don't want any moisture in those beans, you know, because then they could mold, you know. Well, I've been doing this now for about 3 years, and I love it. And it's all because of based on them and their experiences. If no other reason, find out how they did things.
Oh, yeah.
They knew how to make food. You know, they'd save grease off of their bacon and off of their sausage.
Yes.
They didn't make soap out of it.
Yes. I remember a long time ago my grandmother talking about her mother doing that. And I think she tried it one time and she didn't get it quite right. It was kind of something, what it was. But yeah, I mean, I can remember Papa was a big watermelon. I want to grow watermelons, and he was good at it. But he always took those seeds and he would separate, like he wouldn't, if these seeds came out of this watermelon, they were in one bag, and if they come out of this watermelon, even though it was the same kind of seeds, they stayed in separate bags, and he would label when he put them in that bag. Yeah, and then he would go back and then pick out some from each one.
He made a business out of it,
didn't he? He did. And he knew what he was doing. And he knew when he thumped on what, I don't know any of that stuff. I'd watch him and I'd listen, but I still didn't know it. But yeah, and I remember we were talking about my grandmother Murray the other day. She would plant green beans like crazy and get out there and pick them. And was allergic to them. And even picking them was allergic. But me and my daddy were talking about this. But she'd still do it because everybody else needed them. She might not have ate them.
It wasn't about her, was it, like nowadays?
No, it was not about her. It was about my family. My daughters and their husbands who might need them because they live in the city and they don't grow a garden. They're going to need these. Tomatoes, same thing. There would be rows of tomatoes. And y'all, tomatoes make a bunch. And she would have rows of tomatoes. And I'm like, why do you have some? And she didn't eat them. She didn't eat them. But you made vegetable soup. You made tomato juice. You made canned tomatoes. You had all these things so you could cook and make other meals with these items, and she made sure everybody had theirs. Yeah. And I love canned vegetable soup. I don't like it frozen. I like it canned. It's more better, as my grandkids say. That's more better. So, you know, those kinds of things, I would not know how to go about doing any of that stuff. I have cousins that do that stuff, but I don't know how to go about doing that stuff. But I remember watching and seeing and doing and having to leave the house when the pressure cooker was on.
That always scared me to death.
Get out of the house.
I'd be gone. Once you're outside playing, the counter comes out. I'm outside playing.
That's right.
It exploded one time.
Oh no, ours never exploded, but they always.
Oh my goodness, beans were everywhere.
Everybody knew somebody who had a counter that exploded, so nobody wanted anybody in the house with them. It was always the way it was.
And they can tell you about, like, if you've never had a baby before, and then you and your husband are going to have the first child. They'll tell you every possible thing that could ever happen to that baby.
Yes. You know, they just have all this wealth of information that they can just share with you. I mean, I still like talking to Daddy now. Like he'll tell me stuff. We're having to go to Huntsville, and he'll start telling me about this and that, and I'll ask him, "How'd you know that?" Well, when I was a little boy, they did so and so. I'm like, "Oh, okay, all right." You know. Of course, I tell my grandkids about using a dial phone or what?
Yeah.
And the party line, or what was it I said the other day, and the grandkids were like,
What's that?
"Yeah, what are you talking about?" I said something about the outhouse too, and they're like, "What?" Yeah, I'm old.
I remember going to a church and they had an outhouse. I would hold it like at home. I was always afraid there was going to be a snake in it.
Yeah. And I never had to go in the daytime church service. I always had to go at the nighttime.
Of course.
Mama said, "Go on." I'll wait.
That's okay.
I'm good.
I can wait. I can wait.
And y'all people who are listening in Australia, do y'all even know what outhouse is?
Out back.
Out back.
You're going to learn some stuff here about Bama. But these are survival skills.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And the way our world is right now, I think, will we survive? Will the younger generations know what to do to survive? And I hope it kicks in, because I'm afraid that we're headed down that way, that we're going to have to garden. We're going to have to do this, and we're going to have to do that to survive.
Well, we're doing videos about that. You're going to help me on some of these videos. We even have bees now.
Oh, I know. You tell me about that.
That's pretty awesome. See, I make candles, and I like beeswax candles and soy wax, because I have asthma and I can't do a paraffin candle. It'll send me into Never Never Land, so I have to have something natural to burn. And the cost of beeswax has just tripled. I mean, it is way up, and I hate to have to charge my customers so much money, for those candles. And so another reason that we are beekeepers is for the wax, the beeswax. And so I'll have to tell you this, that we rob the bees, and I'm looking at that wax going, ick. There is no way that is ever going to be a candle. There's no way. I mean, so much trash and stuff in it. U2's my best friend. So there's this dude who lives I think he lives in Arkansas. And so he was showing how the Amish do it. And so they got this styrofoam, and I found it at Shepherd's Cove Thrift Shop for $1, and it's like this big styrofoam, things you put your cans and stuff in, your drinks and ice. And I was lucky to find it. It was $1, and it had 3 levels on it.
Oh, wow.
So what you do is you get some screen. You get a knife and you cut the top part off where the lid is. You cut that off. So, and then you also get screen and put it in there. But you want the lid, you want people to see. So what I did is I got a picture frame for like 50 cents. I used that picture frame and put hot glue, so it's not going to leak if it's outside.
Right.
And it rains on it. I actually melted some, and it's as pretty as it can possibly be.
Wow.
It's the prettiest wax I've ever seen in my life. But you filter it through is what you do. When you look at it, and you're going to see some dead bees in it. That kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's what I did. I went, that's never going to happen. And I looked at Phil and I said, you think that's going to be a candle? I mean, that's never going to be a candle. But it's a process. And it's easy to, some people do it in a crock pot. But now if you do it in a crock pot, you'll never use that crock pot ever again for anything else. That wax is going to be built up.
Yeah.
So the best thing is just to use a filter. It got an old screen out on the farm out here, found it out in the back of the barn. And so cleaned it off really good. And just put that in, put a paper towel, and just let it filter through. And again, that's the prettiest wax you have ever seen. Wow. So if you want some candles, I'll be able to make you some. Not have to go too much up on the cost, because it costs you to be a beekeeper.
Bees, yeah.
It costs you to do that.
Not
And
to
the
mention
best
the good honey.
the best honey in the world.
Yes.
My grandmother used to be a beekeeper. I find myself, I'm more like her the older I get. And so, and then I also heard that my great-grandfather was a beekeeper as well, so I love it.
So do you remember when your grandmother was a beekeeper? So so you do things that she used to do.
Yeah, I remember she wasn't scared of the devil. That woman was something else. But I'm gonna tell you, it was taking care of the family. That's all she cared about.
Yeah, that's what they cared about.
And so you don't be afraid of the bees, and they won't be afraid of you. That's what you would hear.
Yeah, those yellow jackets though, and
I don't like yellow jackets.
Yeah, my husband found yellow jackets in her yard the other day. He's like, "What do I do?" And I said, "Well, Facebook or internet says don't pour gasoline, but all my life you pour gasoline in that hole. He said,
I get rid of
he
them.
said, why are they saying not to? I said, the environment. He said,
Yeah,
well,
well,
heck, they're
who
not standing
cares?
here with them.
Who cares? We have a little bit over 4 minutes left in this segment. You guys have any upcoming events, money raising
We
events?
do. I'm glad you mentioned that. Starting December the 1st, we will have a tree out in front of the courthouse in Gunnersville that you can buy an ornament in memory of or in honor of a loved one. And it'll stay up from December the 1st until after the 1st of the year. We'll probably leave it up about 5 weeks. And they're $5 an ornament. And then
You can buy ornaments anyway.
yeah. And so just, you just tell me the name you want on there, and if it's we have blue, we have purple and red ornaments. Red is in honor of, and purple is in memory of. So we do those that way. So yes, we have that coming up. We'll start selling those after November the 1st. I have to stay in my blackout period with United Way because they're raising their funds, and we are a United Way community partner. And so I have to wait till their blackout period is over while they're raising their funds. We had a wonderful day of caring September the 13th. They had a wonderful guest speaker, Gabe, who's from Gunnersville. He was born with one arm and no legs. And he is an amazing motivational speaker. Just graduated high school, an amazing motivational speaker. And he spoke to us at our day of caring for United Way, and it was just amazing. I've known him since I remember with his mother, his brother was in my classroom, and I remember when she brought him home from the hospital in foster care. And the one thing she said to us, well, I don't know if she's watching or not. The one thing she said to us was, I don't know how I'm going to keep his pants on him. Onesies you could, and then she kept saying, I don't know how I'm going to keep his pants on him. I don't know how she ever did that, but they're on him. They don't come off. So,
She found a way to make it work.
he's amazing. Like I said, he has one arm. He's usually in a motorized wheelchair. We did a benefit baseball game. They played the firemen and police in Gunnersville, I think. It was really neat. They wanted me to umpire like I know what I'm doing. So he gets up there to bat, and he's in his chair, and so he goes around the bases in his motorized chair. Well, then it was time for them to be in the field, and he was the shortstop, and he was in his chair. Well, they were hitting the balls, and they were rolling, and he couldn't get them. I just stopped the game. I'm like, time out.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking at me like, what does she do? She don't know what she's doing. And I just walked over to him, and I said, when you're out here, do you want to be out of that chair? Do you want to be in it? He said, I want to be out. I said, okay, get out.
Get out.
And I told his dad to come get his chair. I said, he wants it when he's batting, but he don't want it out here. And he stopped every ball that came his way. Every ball.
See what
that
I
came his way.
mean?
I mean, he didn't know any different. That's all he knew. And so he worked at it. I have a
We
cousin.
can learn from that.
Yeah, I have a cousin that has half an arm, and my grandmother used to say he'd hold it. He has the elbow, so he'd hold his plate and dip. My grandma said, help him. I said, I'm filling my plate. I'm not helping him. He can get his own plate.
I know Phil has a cousin who was blind, and he was smart. Well, I'm gonna tell you what, he had a business actually working out of their I think it was their house somewhere. But anyway, so this guy actually had a business going, and so he would say something like that. I saw you did something, and he'd say little stuff like that. When I first met him, I was like, I don't know what sounds federal say the
Say wrong thing.
Oh man, he wanted you to talk. He wanted you to be free.
Mhm.
And so he started off the conversation by joking himself.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and said, "It's good to see you."
Yeah.
And I loved him. But this guy's a whiz on computers. I don't know how he did it.
Oh,
His
wow.
keyboard and all this kind of stuff, and he would repair computers and just do all kinds of awesome stuff.
Because he could feel it.
Yeah.
If you've I know y'all are in other places, but if you've ever had the opportunity to go to Talladega, to the Alabama Deaf Institute, if you ever have the chance to go down there, they make all, I think I'm correct, I may be wrong, but I think they make all the ties for all of our military.
Oh wow!
Like
I
their
heard that.
ties.
I have heard that.
Okay, so they have, or is that how much?
Less than a minute.
Okay, they have a quality enhancement person, and most of them are deaf and blind, and they will run those things, and they can tell if there's a stitch missing here and left
They
and right with
know.
them, just like this.
They know.
It is amazing. It's amazing.
Tricia, thank you for being on the show today, girl.
Thank you.
It's always so much fun. Always. We'll see you later with another awesome guest like this one. So you stay tuned, okay?